So she's commandeered my laptop to do that.
So it should be live now. I'm gonna go.
Yeah. So everybody's hacking your passwords right now?
I'm gonna.
Yes.
Okay, super. I'll just tell me when I should come to the table.
Okay, yeah, definitely. Yeah, it does. No, you're good.
Yeah. Well, this is our first time putting on an event like this. Yeah, we're as part of the undergraduate research team, you do like the team switches each year, so the community outreach portion differs from year to year. So it's been kind of getting bigger and bigger as the years have gone on. So we've done like a ton of high school outreach that has been a continuing thing, and so we kind of wanted to try something different. And so we have so many great professors who can talk about this at UVA, and we're kind of like, why not have a panel at Open Grounds? Who needs an event? So yeah, I also emailed Tom about the program.
Okay, awesome. Yeah.
And if you email the email that I sent out, it would come on the list. So yeah, applications and everything.
Okay.
So yeah. Okay, one of those ones that I was reading. That is fun. I just finished it for 45 hours. And Eris. Lindsay's here. Is this okay? Okay, yeah. So this is the live feed. It's all set up. Michelle did that, and they said you were jabbering. So this is your camera. Alright. And I'm leaving most of this in my big one. But she was totally on the ball with this. It's good. And I brought all the posters, as I said. I'm gonna share over here. Yes, you can. Hi, I'm Kara Bush.
Hi, Kara.
Thanks so much for coming.
My pleasure. This is a pretty cool space.
Yeah, it's really neat.
Very nice. I hadn't even heard of it. How long has it been around?
I think it's relatively new. I'm not sure how many years, but I think it's like relatively new.
Is she going to do Jabber? Or
Yeah, and I told her to
Okay.
just consult it.
Excellent. So when she calls in, it should pop up. We should be good to go.
I don't use technology.
Not the way to go. We have far too much of it here. And
Way too much. And PowerPoint is misused so bad. It's like a total crutch, you know? People turn it on, they turn their back to the audience, they get the little light, you know, and then they just read stuff.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
I walked in and I was like,
Looks like we'll be starting a little late.
Oh, that always happens.
So you're in biology.
I'm in biology and I have a secondary appointment over in cell biology at the med school.
Oh, okay. All right.
yes,
So
we need a
I'm
little bit
teaching
more
there.
volume.
Okay. I sort of straddle both campuses myself.
Bring your video, we see sort of the
In
bottom
fact, my
half of
office
the
is
chat.
in
That's
Behringer
much better.
now.
Thank you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Great. Great. I think that when it's quiet in here, your volume will be fine.
Okay. I'm glad it's good.
on the, you were on the President's Commission and that. Where did those meetings happen?
They happen all over. Yeah, I guess the majority are in DC, but we've met in a lot of different cities. Mostly. Oh,
Yes.
So we're not doing it in alphabetical order, right? Because I'm the least in bio.
Oh, no.
oh, she's doing it by remote.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's
Sorry,
in
what's that?
Geneva.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. I just wanted to know what the order was. If we're doing it alphabetical order, I think I'm probably alphabetical first.
No. I was thinking.
But they're more real scientists, so I thought for them to talk first about what they do. And mine is bio, actually.
Okay, but how about we'll go down the line? So we'll do Professor Cousins. And then just a double check. So you pronounce your last name vaguely? Or?
Yeah.
Okay, just one of that. Okay.
So the meetings are all over the country.
Yeah, we've had meetings in San Francisco, Miami, Chicago, Philly, New York. Yeah, oh yeah, mostly places where we have members.
So it's for the convenience of the panelists, or is there people from the outside brought in?
Well, it's
Do you mind if we move the table?
oh, no, not at all. You just don't take my coffee. That's all I care about. So, well, no, I think the idea is just to spread it around and do it all over the country as a part of reaching out to the public. There's no mix and matching of subjects and panelists or anything like that. So our next meeting is going to be in Salt Lake City, which in November, which I'm not thrilled about.
Yeah, it seems like a good time to head towards Charleston.
Miami would have been nice.
It was suggested that it might help your audio if you have earbuds.
Well, they govern the rate.
And this might help you.
Would you keep on scooching over
Oh,
until
we
you're
can
on
sketch,
screen?
yeah. Oh, you want us both showing up there?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, sure, okay.
Yep, that's perfect.
Excellent.
Okay.
Yep. Now you can see yourselves.
I'll be looking at myself through the entire.
Okay.
Yeah, I love looking at myself too.
Yeah. That's good.
Okay, all the images are aligning.
That's good.
Margot? Hello, I'm John Harris. I'm glad to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you as well.
Yeah, I'm feeling really close to you now.
So I guess
Really,
We're just a few
It's just-
thousand miles away.
It's just an intimate, personal connection. Yeah.
I know.
So you're in Geneva now?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. A meeting in the World Intellectual Property Organization. It's the General Assembly.
Oh, okay.
And some very important issues being discussed on some topics that I'm working on. So
Great.
lots of
Well,
politics, lots of negotiations.
we're glad to have at least an image of you.
Thanks, I'm delighted to be seen. I wish the camera did. I can't see
Can
you
we
all.
get against
I can see the audience, but I can't see. I don't know if that's. I guess that's not really possible.
It's probably better to see the audience if there's questions.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's true. That's true. But I think that remote for it to be moved pretty important.
Is that a speaker or a video
I
thing?
think that's video for the live stream.
Oh.
Or microphone for the live stream. It's something with the live stream, I think.
Okay.
Because Michelle.
So, Kara, for the agenda, it just follows this. You'd sort of prompt us to
Yeah, so how it's gonna work
give a
is-
little comment for
right,
each of those. No big speech, right?
No.
Okay, good. All right. Okay. I could do that too, but always be
Do we
prepared.
wanna get going or?
I know some of my colleagues were gonna come, but I'm worried the rain may be
Mm.
Right, it kinda came right at the
depressing
wrong.
their.
So are kids from the high school supposed to be here?
I think. We have their posters though.
No, it's too bad. So they can't exhibit their posters and defend them?
We'll have to talk amongst ourselves.
Well, I guess it'll have to be self-explanatory.
Do you wanna start? Okay, so welcome Professor Kosminski, Professor Aris, and Professor Bagley, all the way in Geneva. We're really happy to have you and all of you here tonight. My name is Kara Brashevich, and I'm a member of the UVA iGEM team, that's International Genetically Engineered Machines. And also a big thank you to Lindsay Hepler, wherever she is back there, for hosting us here at Open Ground. It's a really cool space. Just a note about the discussion. So we kind of have some points that we're going to talk about. But if you all have questions, you can either email them to an email address that's on one of the pieces of paper you got, or like we're pretty small, so like when we're done with the points we have, we're going to open the floor for any other discussion. So to start out, I just wanted to give a brief definition of synthetic biology because it's not very well known. So synthetic biology is using biology techniques to take genes from one type of organism and put them into another organism. And an example of this would be taking genes from a firefly and putting them into an E. coli bacteria to make that bacteria grow. You can also use synthetic biology to modify the function of the genes already in an organism to like make it more active or less active. And then just like really brief reminder, genes are the bits of DNA that can code for a specific trait. So now that we have that quick overview of synthetic biology, let's introduce our panelists. So with us tonight, we have Dr. Keith Kosminski, who is a cell biologist. We have Dr. John Aris, who works in bioethics. And we have Professor Bagley, who works with patent law. Would you like to talk really quick about synthetic biology and how it's relevant to your field?
Well, I think the first thing to do is even expand the definition of synthetic biology a bit more because, as you mentioned, it certainly in many cases involves transferring genes from organism to organism. But that's something people have done for several decades now. And synthetic biology at its core is really a reconceptualization of that process in the sense that when you're manipulating organisms, you want to have genes and macromolecules within a cell, for example, that are standardized. So much as engineers can put specific parts together to build a machine, the idea here is to create standardized parts from biological material. And this may involve expressing genes in other organisms. So in many ways, synthetic biology is something we've been doing for decades, but it has a new thinking behind it on how we can make this process more efficient and more useful for us in terms of products. Oh, and how it relates to my field of cell biology. Well, it's very different in many respects because as a cell biologist, I ask the question, how do cells work? Or how does a given event in a cell happen? And synthetic biology brings a new thinking to this because a synthetic biologist asks a much different question. How can I get the cell to work for me? So as a cell biologist, we can create small machines, loosely speaking, that help us answer questions in cell biology. So we can have specialized parts that allow us to ask how a cell works. But a lot of synthetic biology is actually quite different from the goals of cell biology.
Would you like to
Okay,
add
well,
to
just
that?
a quick note on the nature of synthetic biology. That was really, really nice. Thanks for absolving me of the necessity of defining such a very multiform enterprise. But I do want to add that another way to put it might be that traditionally we view DNA as information, right? And the synthetic biologist looks at DNA like a kind of building block. Like what can I make with this thing, right? So it's a real fusion of biology, engineering, and also computer science, right? Because we can now basically we can draw up the blueprint of a genome on the computer, right, and build it up from scratch, right? So this is extremely potent technology, very interesting. So on the biographical side, I'm John Aris. I'm a professor of philosophy and bioethics here. I have one foot in the medical school and one foot in the philosophy department. My usual beat is standard bioethics areas like research ethics, doctor-patient relationship. But recently I've gotten more and more into the ethics and policy surrounding biotechnology, right? So right now I'm teaching an advanced undergrad seminar on neuroethics, which is, I think, really interesting. And I'm also on President Obama's Bioethics Commission. And I got into this synthetic biology via that commission, right? So back in May, I think, of 2010, Craig Venter announced to the world that he had, synthesized a new organism. And shortly after that, President Obama gave this newly formed commission its first charge, which is to write a report on how to garner the benefits of synthetic biology while not falling prey to the risks and potential harms. I learned that one downside of working for a presidential level commission is that unlike students at UVA, they don't, or faculty at UVA, they don't accept extensions. Okay, so they gave us like 6 months to do this project, which was a little daunting. So the end result of it is this book called New Directions: The Ethics of Synthetic Biology and Emerging Technologies. You can find this on the web. We have a wonderful website. It's really simple. It's www.bioethics.gov. Okay, and that has all of our reports on it, and you can actually see a lot of these major players on the commission testifying. So that's pretty great. Speaking of all the people who came before the commission, back then I was thinking of the Colbert Act. Colbert, when he was still working on The Daily Show, he used to have a regular skit called Interviews I Could Get, right? And these were like with hapless politicians from the Midwest who had absolutely no clue what he was about to do to them. On this commission, we can get any interview we want. That's the big difference. So we had Craig Venter, we had George Church from Harvard, we had Drew Endy from Stanford, all the the really major players, as well as Bonnie Bassler, who's a very distinguished biochemist at Princeton. And we really, just a word about the orientation that we adopted, right? Because some of the leading questions here are like, well, are you for, incredibly restrictive regulation, or do you think we should just be free as scientists? We not quite, Karen. It wasn't quite that leading, but we really tried to present a balanced agenda between the benefits and the risk, which is what the president asked for, but also between freedom of inquiry and heavy-handed regulation. And we also had a lot to say about the proper attitude toward risk, which is a big topic in this area of biotechnology, because we have tremendous possible benefits, but there are some really worrisome risks of, with a very low probability of occurring, but if they do occur, it could be really, most unfortunate. So we tried to thread the needle there too between a kind of really rigid, what they call a precautionary principle, which is very popular in Europe actually, and a kind of laissez-faire, let science rip philosophy. So that's just in general what we attempted to do.
Yeah, it's really interesting to hear that inside scoop on the mission. I think that's really interesting. Professor Bagley, would you like to talk a little bit about how synthetic biology relates to patent law and biotechnology patent law?
Sure. Well, in relation to my work with synthetic biology, it's quite different from the other two professors on the panel. My specialty is international comparative patent law, and last summer I was approached by the Wilson Center, Dr. Todd Kukin, who actually works with a number of IGEM groups, to prepare a report along with Professor Artie Rye from Duke University on the Nagoya Protocol in synthetic biology, a look at the potential impacts. And that's the report we did. My focus was more on the treaty side, the Nagoya Protocol, which implements the access and benefit sharing provision of something called the Convention on Biological Diversity. And Kara, I can go into as much or as little detail as you want, but just to give you a perspective on what this is about, the Wilson Center was concerned that various treaties that are being negotiated and coming into effect have ramifications for synthetic biology researchers, and the researchers really are not aware of them. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, this is great.
I'm getting okay, good. I'm getting a little feedback. Okay. So we were looking at the potential ramifications for researchers of these treaties. The Nagoya Protocol is actually going into effect next month. And as I said, it implements aspects of the Convention on Biological Diversity, which itself went into effect back in 1993.